Chapter 3. Takeoff. I was nervous all morning. I had a tight, uncomfortable feeling in the pit of my stomach as I said goodbye to Mum. It persisted as Lee drove me to the airport, and even a coffee and cigarette followed by a visit to the toilets didn't ease the feeling. It was nerves all right. Sweat trickled down my forehead at the thought of getting on that plane and saying goodbye to everyone and everything I had ever known, without any real clue as to what lay ahead. At this point, I should probably say that I'd never been to Marbella, on the south coast of Spain. I'd never even been to Spain before, except a lad's holiday to Ibiza, but I'm not sure if that really counts. I'd found my new job on the internet, and the company helped with relocation and gave a basic wage that you could survive on, and was available to start as and when I was good and ready. I thought it sounded too good to be true, but justified it to myself as a good performance by me in the group interview, and also that not everybody was brave enough or prepared to just up and leave everything to try something new in some place far from family and friends. I'd reread an email from MacArthur Realty International, my new employers, the night before I left while struggling to sleep, and used a couple of links they'd supplied to find out a bit about the town where I'd be working and the endless opportunities of financial gain and career enhancement I'd have at my disposal whilst employed by the #1 company on the coast. Sat on the plane, I was talking to a guy who had a place not far from where I was heading, apparently. I'd soon found out that the Costa del Sol was home to a lot of property investment companies, the next generation of hard sell companies after the bottom fell out of the timeshare market. I didn't like the sound of this. I wasn't told about hard selling in the interview. I didn't even know what hard selling was really, and selling of any sort didn't really appeal, to be honest. I thought I was booking holidays for people, or similar. Maybe this guy was talking about something else. I collected my bag from the carousel at Malaga Airport and walked outside towards the taxi rank. The heat and exhaust fumes hit me hard. Marbella Central, Café Marbella, I said, wondering how useful those weekly Spanish lessons I'd been doing for the last month and a half would prove to be. It was about a half-hour drive from the airport to Marbella. This place is beautiful, I thought to myself as the taxi driver weaved in and out of the traffic, heading west along the 2-lane coastal road. No cloud dared try and shed the sun's blue sky. The sea, a stone's throw to my left, was calm and inviting, even if I was never the best swimmer and had an irrational fear of sharks ever since seeing Jaws at perhaps too young an age. Do they get sharks in the Mediterranean Sea? I'd have to look into that before suiting up in my swimsuit and taking the plunge. I was feeling more relaxed at this point. I guessed that the warm air, blue sky and the endless opportunities I had in front of me had settled my nerves, until, that is, I arrived at Café Marbella, the meeting point for all the new MacArthur recruits. I introduced myself to Karen, who wore a company uniform, carried a clipboard and also an air of self-importance, as James, not Jimmy. I felt that this made me seem more mature, a quality that I'd definitely lacked recently. She told me she was the head of human resources, and was nice enough to inform me I was the last one to arrive and that everyone had been waiting for me. As I glanced over her shoulder, I felt my stomach go again. I'd dressed in joggers and hooded top with the aim of being comfortable during the flight. Ironically, the clothes that I wore were at this point the reason I felt incredibly uncomfortable. All 7 of the other new starters were wearing suit and tie, or the female equivalent. A couple of them had noticed my late arrival and lack of self-presentation skills, and chuckled to themselves while delicately stubbing out their cigarettes and sipping from their ridiculously small coffee cups. I knew right then, at that very moment, the type of people that usually would give up everything and everyone they know to travel someplace new for endless opportunities of financial gain and career enhancement. Salespeople. And I fucking hate salespeople. In my experience, all salesmen are overly alpha male, two-faced snakes. Karen and 2 of her staff, also wearing the company colours, ushered me and my new colleagues into 3 BMWs and took us to our places of residence, a collection of studio and 1- and 2-bed apartments just outside of the main town. I'd been told that I'd be staying in a studio on my own, which was fine by me, almost a blessing I thought. Having to bunk up with one of these guys would have been awkward. I would have been found out to be far from the salesman I'd sold myself as during the interview. Or is that a paradox of sorts? I'd sold myself, so perhaps I'm capable? As I sat between the suited and booted, talking about how much money they had earned before and will earn here, whilst being driven along in the nice car, in the sunshine by the sea, it was hard not to start believing the hype. Hard not to have that little bit of hope that maybe this was the start of something great about to happen in my life. I was surrounded by people who truly believed that they were the business and had landed jobs with the #1 company on the coast, and I had been chosen as well. Maybe I do belong here, I thought. Briefly. 2 weeks had passed, and me and the group, 16 of us newbies in total, all now suited and booted, had been through some pretty intensive training. We had been educated about the housing market, which was apparently the only viable investment option for the average Joe. We were taught about the company we worked for, how the owner and founder of MacArthur Realty International A certain Darren MacArthur has started the company with only £8,000 of his own money and built it up from scratch. We were taught the best way to gain the trust of our potential clients was to use the name of Mr. MacArthur as a guarantee to the quality of our portfolios and investment advice. We were even shown how to show the public that would be coming to see us how to use the equity in the current properties to fund an overseas investment. It all seemed so simple, too good of an opportunity to miss. I even thought about trying to scrape together a few grand to put into property myself. I discovered my job would be phoning people who had inquired via the company website or answering calls from those who had called in after watching our infomercials on MRI's new television channel and booked them on a trip to the location they were interested in buying a property in. It was that simple. I wouldn't be selling per se, but giving information about our company, answering any questions and getting credit card details to book flights for a meeting between the buyers and our reps on the ground. I was told our reps were the best in the business and would close 8 out of 10 potential deals. Our salesmen were so good, apparently, that we are discouraged from selling any off-plan properties over the phone. The logic was if someone is willing to put down a deposit on one unit without even visiting the location, then how many units could our highly trained sales team get the investors to purchase? I would get a percentage of any units sold that follow my booking off the sales trip. Easy as pie. Almost everyone had believed everything we had been taught. We had been told over and over the same facts and seen the figures and watched the presentations that at the end of it, you would be a fool not to believe in the product. It had everyone sucked in, everyone except my new Australian buddy, Jason Dorris. But that's it, guys and girls. These 2 weeks should have prepared you for the boiler room. You know what you got to do, and on Monday you'll be expected to do it. This will be your last weekend off until the end of season, so make the most of it, said Lorna, the head trainer for new staff. Jason stood and punched the air. All right, let's get on it, he said excitedly. Me and a few of the others stood to leave but were directed to sit back down again by Lorna. I'd noticed that every member of staff with an ounce of authority felt the need to act like an arsehole. Stay seated, she said. Remember, you are now ambassadors for this company. If anyone gets into any sort of trouble that could reflect badly on the reputation of this company, I will personally kick you out onto Beach Bum Avenue. Understand? Yes, ma'am, said Jason, under his breath, which was pretty well restrained for him. Lorna left the room and Jason turned to me, a massive grin slapped across his face. Right, let's get on it, Jimbo, he said. You coming to the port or what? What else was I going to do? Like Lorna said, it was the last weekend we'd have off until the end of the season, whenever that was. Yeah, fuck it, I replied. I'm not having a mad one, though. Cool. I'll meet you out in front in a couple of hours. I've got to go and meet our mate Charlie. You getting Charlie? Again, I asked, a little shocked, although I shouldn't have been shocked at all. Back home, the cocaine was strictly a weekend thing. But here, in the bars and pubs, you could see it on the faces of lots of people no matter what time of day or day of the week. Jason was as bad as anyone I'd ever met for it, but he functioned well on it, not missing work once and hiding his eyes behind his shades when he was really on one. Just a couple of bags, you know how it is. I'll see you around 8 tonight. Hey, did you want a bag for yourself, he asked, ever the gentleman. Nah, that's all right, mate, cheers. Yeah, whatever, man. You say that now, then after a couple of beers you'll be chewing my ear off to give you some like the other night, he said. I'll bring you one just in case. And with that, he gave me a wink and left, like a little tornado off to cause mayhem elsewhere. Jason had come to Spain to hook up with some Spanish chick, Lourdes, who he met whilst travelling around India. Within 2 days of getting here, he found her screwing her ex-boyfriend, Pedro, and proceeded to beat 2 tons of crap out of them using an iron. Generally, a foreigner coming into town and beating on locals is not the thing to do, but Jason didn't give a fuck. He left the East Coast town and found himself in Marbella, courtesy of a bit of labouring work he landed with another Australian he'd met in a bar. The other guy had since long gone, and Jason now lived with an English woman in town, but he hadn't really said too much on that subject, except when high he'd let slip a few details. He's a good laugh and we got on well, but he's a live one. If I wasn't feeling so lonely when work had finished, I probably would have avoided Jason, what with my goal of getting clean and all. But he played it down, the cocaine, and said he'd tell me straight if he thought I had a real problem. A few beers, a few lines, nobody's going to die, he'd say. Well, if no one's going to die, I'd reply.
Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Thank you.